many of you are criticizing and calling are actually things that mental health professionals have counseled us to do.
We got accused of child abuse when we sent Chad to Anasazi. Guess what? The first thing that they did was take a bed away. They don't have beds. People are really triggered. And so if you are triggered and you're upset because of something Kevin and I have done with our children that is actually working really well for us, then I would invite you to look at it and ask yourself, what is it that I'm projecting onto this situation? Because
so we've learned through experience that when people get triggered or get upset by something, it usually is because that something means something about.
Well, as I'm sure you guys already know, Ruby Franke's husband that she is separated from, Kevin Franke, had his lawyer come out and speak on behalf of him during an interview. And I have a lot of things to say about it. I was not vibing with this interview and the things that were said. His lawyer was doing exactly what a lawyer is supposed to do, which is defend you. Whether you're in the wrong or the right, whatever lawyer you hire, you want them to try and come from the best angle that they can to paint you in a positive light. However, before I get into it, my first thoughts were maybe he shouldn't have said anything, because in my personal opinion, he looks 1,000 times worse. Before I even get into the things that Kevin Franke's lawyer said, I just want to say, no matter what he tries to say or do, does not erase the footage we've already seen. Now, we have not seen footage of him doing like horrible things to his kids, but we've seen footage of him being a bystander. She's talking about these outrageous punishments and he's just sitting there saying nothing, doing nothing about it. He was totally for his younger children not getting Christmas presents. I'm sorry, I do feel like that is abusive. Not if you can't afford Christmas presents or whatever, like that is completely different, but making your youngest children watch the oldest ones open presents, I feel like that's just evil. That is so mean to do that to your kids. There are videos of Kevin Franke. We've seen them. So I want everybody to be thinking about this before we continue on with what his lawyer was saying. And like I said, his lawyer is doing exactly what his lawyer is supposed to do, which is defend him. That is his job. But I don't really feel like there's much defense that you can have here, especially as it continues some of the questions that were being asked and his answers that he was given. He should have just said no comment, okay? Because in my personal opinion, oh, does he look 1,000 times worse. Kevin Franke's lawyer, Randy Kester, starts off by saying that he's trying to make sense of the things that have happened to him the past 13 months.
He's busy, he's struggling, trying to make sense out of what's happened to him in the last 13 months and kind of coming out of a fog.
Imagine how your children feel, because who knows what Kevin Franke was out here doing this whole time. What has he even been doing these past 13 months? Because I wasn't seeing his children, which we're going to get into. He goes on to say that when Kevin Franke first heard about this, that he was at work and that he was completely shocked about what he heard was happening to his children.
He was completely taken off guard by these allegations, completely shocked.
Absolutely shocked.
The interviewer asks how did he find out about what happened, and he said he found out from Ruby.
And how did he find out? He found out on the news? Did someone call him?
He got a call from Ruby. She had heard what was going on and knew they were coming for her, called him and said, this is an emergency. She had reached out to him for months and months and months before that. She reached out to him when it was an emergency, knowing she could rely on him to help his kids.
And that is when Kevin is alleging that he first knew that the children were where they were at. He claims he had no idea that his kids were at Jody's house.
She actually didn't say that. She just said, you need to get down here.
You need to get down here. And what did he say about that?
And he said, down where? And when she told him that she was in Ivan's, he responded and said, what are you doing in Ivan's? And she then told him that the kids were down there. Some of the kids were down there and he needed to come down. He said, well, how long have you been in Ivan's? He he wasn't even told that she had taken the kids to I.V.
I think that's just neglectful parenting. I do believe that he was neglectful just based on some of the things that were said. If he truly had no idea about the duct taping, which I don't know if he knew about that or not, let me know what you guys think in the comments. Do you think he knew that it was that extreme? I don't know about that. I do believe that he knew about Ruby Franke's parenting style and the way she was. There are so many video clips of her talking about starving them, forcing them to get down and do push-ups as punishment, sleeping on the bathroom floor because they wet their bed. Like, there's one clip that I posted in one of my other videos about how Eve wasn't able to go skiing or sledding, whatever it was they were doing, with the whole family because she left her coat at school, which is such a childlike thing to do. Children forget stuff at school all the time. There's so much going on when they're there. Their brains are still developing. They forget things sometimes. This child was punished by not being able to go on the family trip to go skiing or sledding. I can't remember which one it was. Either way, he was totally in support of that. So he's trying to act like he had no awareness of how Ruby Franke was. I do not believe that for 1 second. You cannot erase all of the footage that we've seen. He knew who his wife was. No matter what him or his lawyer tries to say, he knew. Maybe he didn't know they were being duct taped, but he knew about the type of punishments that Ruby would do. He was a part of them in numerous videos on 8 Passengers. He has responsibility there. This whole interview was just trying to paint Kevin as like this clueless man, like he had no idea what was going on. He was neglecting his kids for 13 months, but he's such a good dad though. He alleges that he had no idea where Ruby and his kids were. Wouldn't a good father press on that? Like, for 13 months, that's over a year. This whole time, Kevin hadn't seen his kids at all. And this lawyer is alleging that the reason why is because Ruby was controlling the whole situation and was telling him that it's better off here without you and that there's potential for their marriage to be fixed if he just stays out of the picture.
How much was he seeing the kids?
Almost not at all. Actually, not at all. She told him it was better that they needed to work on their marriage and needed to keep their family together, but that everything was better off with him not in the home and not communicating with the children.
Tell me, in what world does that make any sense? Can somebody please explain to me how that makes sense? What person who loves their children would sit there and listen to somebody tell them, don't speak to your kids for over a year and that will help our marriage? That literally makes no sense at all. That is not a good father. Him trying to allege that he's a good father in this interview, while also saying he was neglectful to his children for this entire time, that is something that seriously needs to be looked into. On top of the fact that we have all these 8 Passenger videos to back up that he was not a good dad. He was a bystander to a lot of abuse that was going on. And him trying to act like he had no involvement in it, of course he would act like that. Does anybody think that he's gonna get up there and be like, yeah, I knew that she was abusive? No, like, he's gonna try and do whatever he can to make himself look better, but he looks terrible. He looks neglectful. He looks like he abandoned his children in the hands of someone that he knew was abusive. Like, the lawyer even said that Kevin and Ruby split because they had different ways of parenting.
Why were they separated? What was the catalyst?
I probably shouldn't go into that. That's pretty private, but let's just say they were they had a difference of opinion about their family.
Parenting? I know you can't talk about it, but is it that kind of where we're going?
Correct. And their own personal dynamic.
Then also said that he had no idea how his kids were being treated. Well, then in what way did they have different views on parenting? It to me came off like he was trying to claim that because he thought it would make him look better, that like he left her because they had different views on parenting, but it also contradicts you saying that he didn't know anything about the way she was treating the kids. Those two things cannot coexist. He's just trying to claim that Kevin was like listening to everything that Ruby was saying and thinking that their marriage was going to be saved if he didn't speak to his children at all.
Calling the kids, checking in on the kids, seeing how they're doing?
I totally understand that. That was the big question on my mind. What people don't understand is that he was trying to preserve his marriage. He was taking direction from her. She's the one who asked him to leave the house and indicating that in order for him to be able to get back together with her and be a family, that she was requesting that he leave the home and that he not contact them or the children. later told him that everything was blissful at home. It was so much better without him. Emotionally, she was controlling him because she knew how much he valued their marriage and valued their family, and it was his desire to be able to get back with the family and preserve his marriage. So he was taking direction from her, and her direction was, it's so much better off, and I think we can salvage our marriage if you just, for now, don't have communication with the kids, and I will communicate with you. I'll reach out to you when we need to have communication.
Why would you want to be with somebody that's telling you that you need to not be in your kids' lives so we can work later down the road? How does that make any sense? He also said that the last time that Kevin and Ruby had spoken was the Friday before this interview was done. He said it was in that conversation that Kevin came to his senses and realized how Ruby was.
Kevin never had any reason to believe that his children were being abused. The last conversation they had was last Friday. And that's when, during that conversation is when he came to his senses about how he'd been manipulated and deceived.
You mean it took him that long? I don't know how long they were married, but a long time. They have a lot of kids. They have kids that are adults. You expect us to believe that you had no idea who she was, who the mother of your kids were, who the woman you married was. You had no idea she was this type of woman, even though we could all clearly see it from the video footage. You had no idea until everybody else in the world knew, and that just so happens to be when you came to your senses. Man, they must think we are dumb. He goes on to say that Kevin never physically abused his children, which no, there is no evidence of that. I don't know that he did. I don't think there's anything that suggests that he did, but I think he was one of those people that was just gonna sit there and let her do whatever she wanted, and now that this is all out, he's like, I need to act like I was clueless and like I didn't know, but also the reason why we split was because we had different parenting styles, but also even though she had a different parenting style than me, I listened to her when she said don't see the kids, that she had a different, that doesn't make any sense. My head hurts. And then he also goes on to say that from 8 passengers that Kevin gave all of his money to Ruby. So he's just trying to paint this picture that Kevin was just sitting there like, my eyes are closed, my ears are plugged, I have no idea what's going on. Like, I'm just floating around here, just waiting on her to let me know when we're gonna get back together. No, I'm not buying it. I think it's a load of crap. I don't believe anything that they said. I think that he knew who Ruby was. I don't know that he knew about the severity of the abuse that was happening once Jody was in the picture. I don't think there's any evidence to suggest that that type of physical abuse was happening before. I don't know. He knew about the things we've seen in the videos from 8 passengers. He also signed up to be on this channel. He also signed up to put his children on this channel. And I think that there is too much that's showing the type of father that he's been, which is neglectful and allowing them to be put in this situation. It's a little bit too late to sit there and try and claim that you didn't know anything about this. No, he knew about some of it and he did nothing. He chose to go and live his best life for the past 13 months and not be around his children. I can't imagine a world where I would just be fine with my child being out there and not have any involvement in them or listen to anybody tell me, hey, don't speak to your child. And also, over a year is a long time. You expect me to believe that they were barely speaking and that he wasn't communicating with his kids at all, but he's over there sitting there thinking, oh, Ruby, when we get back together one day. No, he was, like, pardon my French, fucking around. I don't know what he was doing this whole time, but it was probably acting like a single man with no children, and he bears responsibility in that. If anything, I think it would show a lot if he owned up to his neglectfulness. Because here's the thing, when you have a child, they are completely reliant on their parents and how their parents choose to parent them. And if they have one parent who's abusive and terrible to them, then the other parent needs to step in and save them from that situation. And he had the means to do so, and he chose to turn his back and have no involvement and to not know where his children were. That is neglectful. I think he should be held accountable for that. That makes me so mad. The way that these children's lives could have been completely different had he left Ruby, and went to court to get his kids, their lives could be completely different right now, but he chose to let them be in that situation. I think his lawyer saying he's a good dad, that is a load of crap. Let me know in the comments down below if you guys would like a dad that would just not see or speak to you for 13 months because some woman told him not to. Leave me a comment down below and let me know who would like that kind of dad. Does that sound like a good dad to you? A dad that'll sign you up to be on a YouTube channel where your mom like humiliates you on camera repeatedly with him just standing there? Like a dad who's not going to let his youngest children get Christmas presents and forces them to watch their older siblings open presents? Does that sound like a good dad? This interview had me fuming. I think his lawyer's doing what he's supposed to do, which he's trying to defend him, and we should expect nothing less from him. That's what he's supposed to do. That's what he was hired to do. If you guys want to see more on the Ruby Franke situation, definitely give this video a thumbs up. Let me know in the comments down below and subscribe so that you don't miss any more of my updates. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you guys very soon for another video.